Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning from. This is Dr. Jacqueline King. As you know, I'm the CEO and founder of Black Woman Empowered. And I always say we bring exciting people who are doing exciting things. And today, of course, will not disappoint you. We have the lovely Kelsey Nicole. And she is a phenomenal woman, if ever I've seen one. I'm blown away, Kelsey, by all the stuff that you're doing at such a very young age, which is inspiring not only to me, but I'm sure that it'll be inspiring to everyone. So let's get started at the beginning. How did your life start out?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, pleasure, and delight to be here. And thank you for still calling me young. When you have students, you don't remember if you're young or old anymore when you're
You are
surrounded
young.
by such youthfulness. But again, just excited to be here with this wonderful network. My journey, I think, is like a lot of people's journeys. I was inspired by my parents. I remember, growing up with my dad, watching games, playing games, doing sports. I was always very active. My parents had saw me play everything from soccer to tennis to volleyball to basketball. I kind of always wanted to just be in the game, right? I was tall, so everyone was always trying to recruit me, and my parents like, oh, she should come play this. I did cheerleading. I just kind of wanted to try things out and see how they are. My family being from the Deep South, sports is life. Sports and religion are life, so you grew up with the Bible and you grew up knowing football.
Yeah, right. I love the Bible part in sports too, because
Yeah, it's Bible.
my son is an athlete too.
See, so it's amazing to see. And then honestly, that just blossomed. Like people, when I was younger, they always said, Kelsey, like you have the gift of gab. I was always connecting people. I was always used to being the youngest one in the room. I was always, as we say in the Black community, I was always in grown folks' business. But always knowing how to communicate, what I was hearing or share new things that I was hearing. And, I think for me, that was kind of able to blossom. So I grew up in Montgomery County, and growing up in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, we luckily have all the sports teams. So, growing up, getting a chance to go to, we'd get free tickets to go to like Mystics games and Wizards games, Maryland College Park games, which was amazing. I grew up during the era of Hoya paranoia when it was still at an all-time high. So going to Georgetown games and McDonough Arena. So sports have kind of always been involved in my life. My dad went to a HBCU, Grambling State University. All my aunts went.
Wow, Grambling. Wow.
So I grew up in this HBCU community sports culture, filled with love and Black excellence, but then also just everyday life. I was always around it. So I think for me, sports honestly found me and they just never let me go, Dr. King.
We want to just say, everyone that's tuning in, please share where you're tuning in from and share the broadcast. Hi, Gina. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, I think I jumped ahead of myself. So tell them exactly what you do, because I find it amazing. I jumped ahead of that.
All good. I'm a little bit everywhere. I think when people look me up or if they find me like, wait, what does she do? Because she does so many things. And I'll tell you, I've never been able to be put in a box. I've always done, multiple things, and I think I've always kind of been defined by that. I never understood why when you say what you do, people expect a one-word answer or a one-word career. I've always wanted to be multifaceted, and that's what I try to embody in all that I do. But I'm a couple things. I'm a professor at George Washington University, so I teach intro to journalism. Shout out to all my students who might be watching this, you guys, on Thanksgiving break right now. I'm also a communications professional. So I work with nonprofits right now, working with the National Foster Youth Institute as a director of communications, helping to uplift and amplify foster youth voices, which are far too often marginalized and often not given enough space at the table. So that's been an amazing career. And then what most people know me for, Dr. King, is my sports broadcasting work, covering everything from football, basketball, I've done golf, tennis, you name it, I've probably covered it. I worked for NASCAR, kind of a plethora of things on TV and radio. So I freelance with a bunch of different networks and come on as an analyst, a host, a sideline reporter, telling factual information. By the way, do not let what Chris Thompson put out there and let you think that's all sideline reporters. And then I do a bunch of mentoring, in the community. It's very near and dear to my heart. And of course, I sit on a couple boards. So sports and education are kind of my what fuels me and my passions. I do a lot of event hosting. So if you're ever in DC, you might see me hosting a gala or dinner. I really am a storyteller and a connector. I think that's the easiest way to think about it. I like to tell stories and share stories, and I like to connect people together for a common cause or common mission.
I'm so glad that we're connected, because we plan on doing some events and we want you to host them.
Honored. I'd be honored. That's my comfort zone on stage.
Yeah, I've checked you out. I've looked at your all of your social media. You can tell because I think I've tagged you on every page I have.
Which I so appreciate.
Yeah, but you are an amazing woman, and So you grew up doing all this, and then when did you know you wanted to go into sports? I think
Yeah.
did you go to school for sports medicine? I know you did something with.
Yeah, you're close. So I went to grad school for sports industry management. So Georgetown was my grad school. Shout out to the Hoyas, Hoya Saxa always. And I went to University of Maryland for undergrad for broadcast journalism and African American studies. And I actually had a chance to go through our Povich Sports Journalism Center there. And my whole focus was changing the way that Black athletes are perceived in the media, specifically Black women athletes, and how they're perceived in the media. I think for me, I remember going through school and I love journalism. And I remember I love watching the sports reports, Dr. King, but I didn't see enough melanin on my camera. I didn't see enough people that look like me. And so I think it's probably about middle school when I said, you know what? I want to be the change I want to see in the world. I want to be that person that hopefully inspires other young girls. And so I think from middle school, probably from 6th grade on, I kind of made it a career. Like I want to do it. Though I will share, before I went to college, I wanted to do journalism, but so many people I let get in my head and they were like, journalists don't make any money. And, you don't come from money. You're like, wait a minute, I'm about to go spend 4 years to not make any money. So it didn't make sense. And so I actually started at Maryland, a psychology major, believe it or not. I was like, I loved watching like crime shows. Like when I was younger, CSI was a big thing. And other crime shows like that. And I was like, okay, psychologist seems cool. I like talking with people, get into their mind. Went to Maryland. I hated it. I'll be honest with you. And that's when I went back to what I loved. So switching to the journalism program and kind of, as they say, I know it's cliche, but the rest is kind of history. I fell back into, I think, where I belong and where I was supposed to be and where God wanted me to be. And that was connecting people and telling stories. And again, I just got happier in college, once I was able to really do the classes and connect with professors, that understood me, what I wanted to be and, where I wanted to be.
And I always say, if you find your passion, then you found your purpose.
I love it.
And that is absolutely true. I love inspiring people. And I think that's why our network is as big as it is, because I've been inspiring for 12 years. And you are an inspiration. So you went on gosh, what exactly?
I traveled a lot, Dr. King.
I'm tongue-tied. That never happens. So you're on the field, and I was talking about this yesterday because actually I interviewed Joe Dudley Jr. from Dudley Hair Products, which everyone knows.
Yeah, you're telling me, amazing.
Yeah, we've been friends for a long, long time, but I interviewed him last night, and I told the audience that you'd be coming on.
Yeah.
So back in the day, like, I'm 66. Back in the day, there were no women on the field, and definitely not any Black women. Now you see them everywhere. I don't know, you may know her, but I don't know. I don't know. I was watching a station, I believe it was Sunday, and it was a pregnant woman, a Black pregnant woman. Do you know who she is?
Talking about Maria Taylor, who does NBC. Yeah, she used to be with ESPN, and yeah, she's a boss woman in sports. I love that you brought her up because she really embodies just Black woman greatness when it comes to sports reporting.
Well, I just thought that was so amazing because, not only would you not see a woman, but you definitely wouldn't see a pregnant woman.
Yeah, doing sports, because the stigmas, right, that exist, when it
comes
to women.
So I was pretty impressed. She had on a really nice white outfit.
Yep,
and very pretty. So I applaud you all. So what did you have to really learn? Did you have to really learn the ins and outs of every game to be able to do this?
I think that's such a good question. And I want to tell people really quickly too, if you ever see me touching my eyes, it's one, because of allergies. And two, I shared this with Dr. King, but I feel comfortable sharing this. Right before this interview, found out my grandfather passed away. And so I feel like I'm a mix of emotions, but I'm still here because I know he used to love watching every single interview that I've done. And he'd always call and be so proud of me, so I'm thinking of him from up above. But to answer your question, I think for me, it's understanding the game. And so I think I'm a daddy's girl. So when I went to games, my dad's like the biggest sports fan and also like the biggest historian. People think I'm smart in sports. Like my dad knows everything in sports. And so, when we'd be watching games together, I would hear him, Dr. King, breaking down plays, hearing the game from him.
Oh, wow.
Then of course, when you're watching TV, same thing. You're learning from the analysts, and hearing what they say. And so I think for me, I really am a student of the game. I always say I'm a lifelong learner, not just through my education, but I'm always learning each and every day. And then also because, my family's from the South, I think so, naturally we talk to people. And so after the game, Dr. King, you're not just going home, you're talking to other people, right? You're talking to everybody, and everyone's talking about the game, what went right, what went wrong. And I'm a person that learns from hearing. And so like I would hear all these different things, and I was able to obviously inform my own opinion based on what was happening. So I think for me, just being a student of the game, listening to my elders, which folks, young people definitely do, because it's so important to do. And then just taking that and obviously propelling it to continue to challenge myself to continue to learn more.
Trevina says, sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Oh, they're gonna make me so emotional. And the funny thing is, I'm not super emotional, but of course, today would be the one
Oh,
day.
of course. And I'm so sorry too.
No, thank you.
I wish we could have canceled, but
No, I knew I was
they
supposed to.
needed you. They need to see you. Not only do you have beauty, you have brains, you have intellect, you're personable. It's funny how God does it, because honestly, I just happened to see your profile and I just clicked on it and sent you a friend request. You didn't have to accept my friend.
I felt
But
good
I'm glad.
vibes when I saw it come through. I just felt like you said it was meant to be.
Yeah, I was really happy after I read your profile, because I'm sure there are young women out there, young girls that want to follow in your footsteps.
Oh,
And so we need people like you. And
true.
you know, I can't emphasize enough how Black and brown girls they need to connect with people that look like them, that are doing stuff that they want
Oh,
to
yeah.
do.
Yes, for
And
sure.
so we put that out there, and like I said, you're doing it well.
Thank you so
Let
much.
me
Oh,
let me
thank you
ask you.
so much, Jamie.
So you go, so you go in the locker rooms and do all that too?
I do. I've seen it all. I've seen it all.
Oh
You know,
man, I'm
locker rooms.
jealous.
Locker rooms are truly one of the best parts, because you really kind of get to go one-on-one with the players. They get to know you. You know, and everybody usually asks me, like, what's it like being a woman going into the locker room? And I tell them, you know, it depends. Like, so I'll put I know people don't like to put their age out there. I put mine out there. I'm 31 years old. So for some of the players, you know, I'm like a big sister to them. For other players, I'm like a little sister to them. It's kind of like a kid fun play, but also know that a lot of these players, they see what you put out there, right? So they might see a tweet that you put out there or something you said. So also knowing that you're going to hold them accountable, I think is super important. And, you know, being able for them to follow up maybe on something that you said, and you having the strength and courage, right, to stand up to what you say. For me, if I put it out there, I mean it and I stand by it, right? So being able to stand up to that. But also I think the camaraderie in the locker room with other, you know, media personnel and veterans, you know, all of us you all wait for the guys to kind of get out the shower and get ready. And then you go in, you know, and do your questions. And, you know, they kind of tell you different guys to go to, or you might see somebody in the corner that's not being talked to and you'll go talk to them. So, you know, I think the locker room is kind of just one of the best places where sports media can kind of, you know, just propel, I guess is the word, because then so much happens in that room and you're able to follow up on immediately what you saw, whether it was on the field, whether it was maybe a player interacting with a fan after the game, you know, whether maybe they took their shoe off and gave it to a young kid, you know, who was first NFL game, you know, all those different things you have a chance, you know, to ask on. I think for me, it's honestly one of the most fun parts of my job, even though the problem we just had in Washington where they had no hot water, that's not a locker room that you want to be in. That's not a locker room you want to be in after a game, because sweat and stink and all that stuff, it is real. So you'd rather some fresh bodies be around the room.
Wow. Well, we have a real live celebrity with us today, you guys.
I am cool.
Valerie, I think that's Valerie. It says, loving the strength that comes through your voice at this moment of challenge. That was very nice. Sometimes I put stuff on the screen because I think it's really nice.
Yeah, no, it means so much. And I'll tell you, like one of my things, I think I'm very open, but being vulnerable is one of my hardest things. Cause you know, I think for so often as Black women, you know, we have to always put on that everything's perfect and okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, it means a lot to have this community of people I don't know, you know, coming to my aid, you know, at a time where I am emotional. Cause my grandfather, like I said, he was a big sports fan. If anybody's in Chicago, you know, he's a Chicago sports fan. You know, I was supposed to go see him soon, you know, family reunion coming up. And then of course, right before the holidays, it's so difficult. And of course, we usually talk about the Thanksgiving football games. You know, now that I won't have those memories, it's hurting. But at the same time, like I said, there's joy here, just knowing he'd be so proud of me, continuing to see me go on and, you know, do what I always told him I wanted to do. So thank you, Valerie. And thank you, everybody. It means so much to me. And I hope I'm not making you guys emotional. Again, I'm usually not emotional, but
look, you can be
real life.
you can be your authentic self with us. That's our followers are so faithful. I mean, they've been following us really, a lot of them for 12 years.
That's amazing.
So what challenges, I mean, I know, so you've got a couple of things that I know don't play in your favor. The fact that you're drop dead gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
and well, I mean, I keep it real. And then, you know, and then you get to be with all these fine men.
I think the sports world has, a plethora of challenges. I think it's funny now that I'm, I taught before virtually, but now I'm in person. And I think, even that has been a challenge. I think when people see that you're younger, automatically they assume like, how in the world can you be a professor and, teaching college kids? Didn't you just graduate? And I'm like, no, actually, it's been almost a decade since I was last an undergrad. And for me, it means a lot too, because it's like I'm able to share all the knowledge that I have, and a university had entrusted in me, to be able to do this. But I mean, honestly, that's one challenge though. You don't see enough Black women collegiate professors. Like, honestly, for me, Dr. King, it was such a surreal moment being in the classroom and being a professor, because growing up in my media classes, I didn't have one Black woman media professor at all. And so for me to be in the classroom and again, be what I didn't see, I champion that, but I also, of course, know we have a way to go, but I also know my role in hoping to bring more Black women in academia. So using the skills that you're learning in journalism and on the field and being able to propel that to teach the next generations. I think that's been a challenge. So again, people kind of take you seriously and realize that like, I'm not just good at this, I'm teaching this for a reason. And so getting them to believe in that. I think number two, again, as a Black woman, I think, people always tell me like what motivates me and propels me. And it's easy. I've always been an underdog. People have always underestimated me, whether it's from where I'm from or how I look or, just different things like that. So I think for me, knowing that, as a Black woman, you always have to prove yourself to be in that room. And it's true. You have to work twice, 3 times, sometimes 4 times as hard as everybody else, because people don't always want us to be in that room. It's not always welcoming. I think there are still times where I am the only one. And, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but knowing that, you're a woman. So the sexism, and then of course the racial part is there as well. I always tell people like I walk into the room first as a Black woman. You can see it when I walk in the room. There's no question about it. And I don't hide it. I love it, and I embrace it, but also realizing that not everybody's going to love that and embrace that. And so I think for me, some of the challenge have been like breaking into new markets. Even here in DC, in a place that used to be called Chocolate City, very few of us have actually been able to go mainstream in the DC, Baltimore area. I know one of the Black women who is Sarita, and I think Sarita is amazing and great. And she's another one I think that deserves more opportunities, but she's been my sister in sports here. And then I've also, had an opportunity, but I think both of us could be doing more, but we're still trying to put, some more clinks and hopefully eventually break that glass ceiling. So I think that's, always there, unfortunately. So you have both of those assets. And then, and you said it, people see your physical when you first walk into a room and they judge you by that before you even speak. And so I think, I'm very cognizant about what I wear and different things like that. I think in a way, because, I come from a Black Southern family, Dr. King, Mississippi and New Orleans. Like, I don't eat salads all the time. I'm very, very healthy woman.
I know that. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Healthy woman, I'll say. But, I think there are stereotypes, unfortunately, that sometimes come with your natural. And again, no work done. This is all just what God has given to me. But, it's like the stereotypes that come with just having a Black woman's body as well. So, it's all these different things that you have to fight against. People assuming you got there for a certain reason, even though you can go see my pedigree and look me up and see all the different things I've done, to get to this moment. I'm very big on, visibility, and people. Yeah. If you want to check something, please be my guest. It's online. It's there. But just all those different things that you're kind of, battling against each and every day. And then the Carissa Thompson example I just gave, with what she said about making up sideline reports. Then you have to fight for the men that don't think women belong, because, the guys will still be there that say, oh, you didn't play football. How can you understand football? So I probably understand it much better than you, and would love to challenge you in a debate, any day. But, there's those guys that just think that you can't understand it if you didn't play it. So all those different naysayers, social media, of course, kind of makes it even worse, because a lot of people feel a lot stronger behind a keyboard when you can't see them or when they're not in your face.
Yeah.
So having to fight off, a lot of that. But for me, it's the challenge. I think in the challenge, I find a beauty, meaning it gives me something to work towards each day to try to break for the next person. So hopefully they don't have to face as many challenges. And so for me, it's like, bring it on, bring it all. Because, I've been there, done that again. I've been fighting my whole life. So what's another fight? To me, it's just something else that I'll overcome with His will.
Are you an only child?
I have a little sister, believe it or not. So originally, my parents are okay with me saying this. Originally, I was supposed to be an only child, but I kept begging. And so 9 years later, they finally gave me my sister, who is literally my best friend, and love her so much. Hi, Kaylee.
That's funny. My kids are exactly 9 years apart too.
Oh my gosh. So you understand waiting. And like, it's funny. So when I was younger, of course, everyone thought she was my daughter, and it's like, no kids, little sister. But she literally is like my baby, just because, obviously helping to raise her.
That's that's awesome. What about from the white women? Is it because I mean I worked in corporate America
Yeah.
for many years,
Yeah.
and I faced all the challenges in the electric and gas industry. You
Yeah.
can just about imagine what that was
Yeah.
like.
Not diverse.
Do you get pushback from them?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm gonna give an example at an organization. I won't name the organization. I'm gonna people keep telling me I need to write a book, so maybe I'll put in the book. But one of my last media bosses, was a white woman, and I think she was just uncomfortable in my confidence, with what I do, and I think it was insecurity as well, on her end of things. So she definitely didn't make my job, easier. It's kind of always negative, always come just kind of peek in and be nosy. It's essentially like in the way you should have support in a boss, I didn't have it from her, at all. But I think, I've had different examples. Sometimes I think white women will be your allies, but sometimes they will, riot against you and be the biggest naysayers, on the each end. I think the age kind of plays into it. Like usually if a woman is older, sometimes, she won't see you as a threat, specifically a white woman. But I think a lot of times people don't like you coming into their space and what they feel like is their space that they own. So I think I've had both sides of the gambit, but honestly, my strongest supporters come from people that have usually look like me when it comes to women, just because, again, I don't think white women fully understand the privilege that a lot of them have when it comes to certain opportunities and jobs. And they also use it when convenient, I think, at the time. And then to be honest with you, usually I'm put up against a white woman when it comes in sports. So it's like either we can have Kelsey or we can have a white woman, who might be much skinnier, much blonder, much more blue eyes. And so in my experience, they haven't all, I would say been negative to me, but I don't think I've been able to use the word allies a lot with them. And I'm very careful of using the word friends. I think that word gets spread around too much. I have associates that I've worked with, again, good associates, but I think it's been very hard to kind of have them close to me because it usually isn't in a spirit of support.
Well, Kelsey, I was in corporate America. I started in 1979, so
Yeah.
I'm really, really dating myself. So you can imagine that I've pretty much seen
At
everything.
all. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's interesting to hear from you to say that we still have these challenges because a lot of people want to act like they don't exist anymore. And we know that's not true.
Right. Unfortunately, I mean, I wish we could. When I hear people say, a post-racial America, I'm thinking, what America are they living in? Because I travel a lot and been to so many parts of the country, and we're not post-racial. Race, still plays a very important role in so much, that we do. And for me, even I think, the example I always give is, being a Black woman living in DC during January 6th, and it's something I think so many of us still suffer trauma for. It was so hard to watch. It was so hard to watch. A Capitol building I had been in a million and one times. You get stopped for even a bobby pin, to get in there. So to see people, obviously terrorize this building with the malice of hate and ill will. And if you talk to Black journalists here in the city, they feared for their lives on that day, folks. Race matters. Race matters. People who lived around there, they were fearful for their lives. There were people who would literally walk around with pitchforks and burning matches and things and wanting to hurt or instill the fear of hurt. And so, I can point back to that example. And then, having a football coach here call it a dust up when it was very far from a dust up. Dust up is something you can just shake off and move on. That's something we're still not moved on for, right? I mean, we're still going through the trials. We're still hearing things come out. We're still seeing videos released. And I just give that example because I think that's something like a shared kind of trauma experience that so many Black people who live in DC had to share, and carry that weight and then see so long for justice to take place, even though I don't even know if you could say justice is taking place, just because again we're still seeing things happen. So yeah, I definitely I wish we could say that, but people still judge us, and largely through that's why I said every time I walk into a room, I understand I'm walking in as a Black woman. I understand that because that's the first thing, Dr. King, that people say. It's the first thing people see, and they put their judgments on me that quickly. But I also understand, it's up to me to hopefully make an impression if they let me. Some people won't. If we're just being honest, some people won't even allow you to give that first impression. But, I kind of understand the weight that I carry, and hopefully they get to know me for me beyond just what they see.
And someone said, and a lot of times people say negative things when I'm reading the comments. Why are we talking about these losers anyway? First of all, we don't operate like that here.
Yeah.
We bring the truth. It's we're not equal. We are striving to get to that place, and we
Yes.
continue to strive. but
Yeah.
the playing field is not even. I commend you for being able to do that, because having, watched a lot of news, I kind of pulled away from them because it was getting to me. So I don't really watch like CNN and MSNBC like I used to, because it's just getting crazy, too crazy for me. But
Yeah.
I used to be like glued to the TV all the time. And I actually I think I had to detox from it,
It's a lot
because
happens.
it is. But what I'm saying is, the journalists have to take so much abuse. Um, People
Yeah.
don't really talk about. I mean, some of these journalists have been getting threats, death threats,
Yeah.
all kind of stuff. I don't
It's so
think everyone
unfortunate.
realizes the magnitude of what you have to go through just to do your job.
Yeah. I mean, that's a journalism is really a field. Like, and you have to love it. You know, I tell this to my students all the time, especially because usually when you start in it, you're not making the most money when you start, right? You have to build up to that platform. But, I've had people come in to my class and speak who are international correspondents, right? We see what's happening right now, with Hamas and Israel and Gaza. And you think about the journalists, on the ground, there. And then, like I said, January 6th, even, I mean, that was another example. And, you put something out there and there will be people. I mean, all of us have DMs that we could show where someone, felt the urge or need to, unfortunately, either be rude or try to place fear in our lives, with threats. And it could be something small. I mean, even if you say something, you'd be surprised, like about someone's favorite player. I mean, they might think you're like making the most hated person in the world and just have a vengeance towards you. So I think, I think the stories do need to be told. The role that we hold as journalists, ethical journalists, to tell those stories, I think it matters. And I do think journalism is a profession I don't think that gets enough credit. So much that happens in the world, it's thanks to these people who come out and bring us the story so we can relax and hear about it, in our own homes. And so I say all that to say, like, just please, like, I know sometimes you might not like the reports, but support the people doing, the work, on the ground. But it gets a lot. I understand needing to detox from news. That's okay. I love that mental health is like a thing we talk about now, because when I first entered this industry, it was just work, 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 get it done. Nobody cares, and now I think it is grace to hear sometimes at least people say, let me give you some grace and space. You realize that you're a human beyond the mic, right? Beyond the journal. Like we feel emotions the same way that you all do. But, my job, as much as I try to be objective in my reporting. But again, I see things. I carry the weight like everybody else. The journalists, we see things, right? And we try not to put it in, but we're also human. We have emotions. And just sometimes, letting it know it's okay for it to come through to them. So I appreciate what you said, Dr. Keaton. I'm so sure that so many of my colleagues, whether it's NABJ or, here in Washington, our Washington Association of Black Journalists chapter, even my Society of Professional Journalists chapter, I know so many of them would support. And thank you for what you've said.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I always talk about the importance of networking.
Yeah.
And networking is so crucial. We have, as Black women, in my opinion, have not done a great job of connecting as sister queens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love Black Women Empowered, because it gives Black women, and don't get me wrong, because we do not discriminate. If I tell everybody, if you feel like you can fit in, come on. But what the majority of the stuff that we're going to be talking about is Black women, because that's who I am and that's who my audience is.
Yeah.
But if you're comfortable in it, come on in, join on, listen in, chime in, whatever. We don't do negativity. We state the facts.
We
But
keep it real.
networking is a lost. I mean, I don't understand. I've never understood why men do it all the time, collaborate on the golf course,
They
and
do.
they come together and they make money.
Yep.
But a lot of times we look at it like, oh, I'm not going to help her because she's going to get ahead of me.
Yeah.
I've never had that. I never had that mentality. I know
No.
you dealt with it.
Oh my gosh, for sure. Something we like to say in DC that Bradley Bill coined when he was here is everybody eats, essentially meaning there's room for all of us at the table. But so often as women, we're pitted against each other and we're kind of told that there can only be one. And I think that mindset, unfortunately, has created a spew of negativity, because for every woman I could say has supported me, I can give you many examples of women who didn't want to support me because they saw me as a threat, our competition, not realizing that, hey, all of us can be in this together and we can all win together. And I think you're right. I think men really are more so like when they see each other, I think they really do immediately see the capabilities, and the potential of what
And the
can
financial gain.
the
Let's keep it
financial gain. One reason I'm learning golf right now, I've been to golf courses, but I realize, and I hope people understand this, golf is so much more than the game. A lot of business deals are made on the golf course. You have to be able to get into boardrooms in different places. And so I think as women, we also have to get comfortable being uncomfortable and putting ourselves in new places. So don't be afraid to go with the guys, and say, oh, y'all are going golfing. Can I come too? Go learn, go meet the different people, that are there. And I think as women too, like, I think honestly, I think we just need so much more joy in what we do. I think, it has to be a lot for a woman to always be negative every time she sees another woman. Like, I would think that has to burden her because generally, like, when I see another woman that I think, is a boss woman and doing things, I'm inspired. Dr. Kim, when you reach out to me, same thing.
Absolutely.
I looked at you, I was inspired. That's what propels me. That's what keeps me going. That's what motivates me, to know I want more. And so I wish that was kind of more the mindset, and just realizing, like, yes, we could both be in the same field, but we've got different recipes to getting there. And that's what's going to make us unique and special, in our own ways. I think it is something, unfortunately, I think it's been here a while. So it's going to be very hard to break. But, I think it's up to each of us to kind of carry a piece of that and say, what, I'm going to do better today. I'm going to be more welcoming to the next woman and the fellow woman, and understand her coming in here does not pose a threat to me, because people are going to love me for me regardless. And if they really are my supporters, they're going to be here regardless. And if the opportunity is meant for me, it won't miss me. I think that's kind of the mindset that we kind of need to have. And hopefully that will help to spew out some of the negativity that we as women have. Because if we get into the the male mindset, oh, it's going to be powerful. It is going to be powerful when women realize their potential.
I agree. And I say this all the time. The Bible says your gift will make room for you. There is so much out there that you can be doing. That's why we launched Christian Women Level Up. And the email is going across the bottom of the screen because Kelsey doesn't know. She probably already figured out that I'm pulling her in.
Look, I got you, Dr. Kim. Whatever you need, I'm there.
She's coming in. But that's what we're trying to get women to not be fearful and to be unstuck.
Yeah.
Because when you start with this fear and looking at what other people are doing and listen to what people are saying, when I started Black Women Empowered 12 years ago, I had so many people laughing at me.
Wow.
I'm not talking about just people I didn't know, people I knew close to.
Yeah.
Even some family members, like, whatever. So over 3 million followers later, they're not laughing anymore.
Oh yeah, they're watching. They're learning.
I know that this is what God called me to do, to try to be a conduit for Black women to come together and support one another and to have a relationship with God and to level up and to grow, all of that. And so I'm committed to it forever. This is forever.
It's so important that, like, I think spaces like this, it's very few places where you can come and go on shows and they literally want you to be unapologetically Black or welcoming. I think what we have, I'm a big proponent of Black girl joy, and just the joy that's happening, in our conversation, I think is so important. And so I'm so thankful you've created this space. I see it as a safe space, where again, I'm talking to someone that kind of understands some of the challenges and, unique parts of my life that I don't have to explain. That's kind of what's nice about speaking to a Black woman. Sometimes what's understood doesn't need to be explained because you know exactly where I'm coming from. So, I thank you, and thank you for sharing your gift in this with all of us to be able to experience. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. I'm mad I'm just finding out about it, 12 years later, but I'm here for a reason. And I know, God, it's God's timing. And obviously this is when we were supposed to meet.
It is. Okay. So so my daughter, how tall are you?
I am 5'8" without heels.
So my daughter's 5'10".
Okay, so she's tall.
And my son-in-law is 6'4". My son is 6'2", 6'3", something like that.
Tall. Okay.
5'3". But the point I'm trying to make is, when you were in school, did your beauty, was it a problem? Because my daughter struggled with girls hating and stuff. Did you have to deal with that?
It's funny you say this, because I see the girls now in high school, and Dr. King, they are like dolled up, the faces are beat and stuff. When I was in school, I think I put some eyeshadow on, like a little bit of mascara.
The girls now, they got eyelashes and everything.
They know how to do it all. I didn't know how to do it. I'm still just like perfecting my lashes, right now. So I commend them. I think for me, it's funny. I think because I feel like I was like the girl tomboy. So like meaning like I still like to like, like dress up, but I wouldn't mind getting dirty with the boys. So all that to say, like I feel like for me it was a couple of things. I think one, so I think I grew boobs early on. And when you're
Girl,
like,
I saw
girl,
them. They look like yours.
and so I will tell you, I'm gifted. It all comes from my mom's side. Everybody on my mom's side, you have big breasts. It's a gene. It's a
Ain't
gene.
nothing you can do about it.
Right. It's a gene. If I have kids, she will probably have big breasts. It just is. But when you get boobs before everybody else, and then I hit puberty
I
early too.
did
I got
too.
my period at 9. So
I was 10.
so you understand. And so like when you become a woman kind of for everybody else, and again, I played sports, it's like weird because you start talking and that's when you realize boys are like not looking at your face, they're looking here. And I remember I was in my room one time and I literally got some duct tape and I was trying to just like, these got to go away. So I was just trying to tape them. I remember I went to school. I remember my friend was like, your shirt looks different today. And I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. But I remember I would try to do everything to hide it. And it's funny because now, obviously much older, I embrace just, what God has given me. But I think for me, I wouldn't say it was necessarily, I don't think with the females, believe it or not, I think when I was younger, there was actually more empowerment. Like, I don't know. I feel like all the girls are like, just like, everybody want to be around you. I feel like that's what I've kind of always had. Like,
oh, wow, nice.
wouldn't say, I think more so with the boys is when I was like, all right, look, we cool, but I don't want anything more. So it's more so the boys, I think that I had to like make sure but it was a good lesson because obviously I learned early then how to make men take me seriously, despite, whatever they might think of me on the outside. So it's kind of then that I learned how to obviously navigate waters now when dealing with men working, in the workplace. But definitely I don't think I had any issues with girls. I didn't even get into pageants until late because honestly, I had issues with my own self-beauty. I remember people would call me different things, but I didn't necessarily see it. I was like, oh, my nose is too big, or I had thick eyebrows. My eyebrows are too thick, and I was always finding things wrong because like most people, I was watching TV, I see these beautiful, I remember reading Jet magazine and seeing the Jet beauties of the week. And I'd always be comparing myself to these beautiful brown skin girls. I'm like, I don't look anything like this. So for me, actually, believe it or not, it was the opposite, where I had to grow into loving myself and realizing I was beautiful in my own way because whatever people said, it didn't get in my head. It had to be me believing. And so I think once I did pageants too and was able to not just be judged from the outside, but judged for how I speak, how I walk. And, it helped me a lot, my posture. I think it also helped me just get more confident, being who I am and realizing that there is a beauty in me. And it's so great being unique. And I embrace my nose. I embrace my eyebrows, and everything that I used to think. My lips, you see people get lips now. I have these naturally, so it's great to see the things I used to be self-conscious about are now, things I love, just being part of who I am and being part of me.
So let's talk about the pageant. How did you end up getting in pageants? And
I'll
what
tell you,
have you been in?
So believe it or not, I got into pageants because I needed money to go to school, folks. So that's kind of why I got into pageants. Probably not the usual way. Like I didn't dream of being in pageants. Again, I told you I like to play with the boys. I still have some scars, from when I was a kid. So for me, pageants were like, okay, I was like, I need money. But also I like the power that they have. Because I remember I'd hear how they get to travel and then, they'd walk into a room and they had the crown and everybody's attention would automatically shift. And I was like, I want that power, when I walk into a room. And so that's kind of how I got into pageants, so I started like locally, didn't know what I was doing. Obviously didn't have a coach or anything, just would watch things on television and be like, okay, that looks right. So let me do that. But it was funny because I always had been a good speaker and writer, but in a pageant, I think when I was doing my speaking, that's when I really realized like I stand out for my answers. I think honestly the answer is always like the hardest part of a pageant. I would just be ready. Like that was my favorite part. Like give me a question and I'm ready to answer. I remember people would, and then I remember just the way people would react to me talking. I think that's kind of funny because now that I host things, I'm realizing back then I had something that I didn't know, but I was able to capture people's attention and hold a room. And so I think for me, that's what pageants help to do. Going back to what we talked about, enter a lot of Black women pageants because I grew up in a household, where my parents, I was surrounded by Black artwork. They were always telling me that was beautiful. And so that's what I wanted to be part of, just Black greatness. So I did a lot of like in the Black pageants. And it's funny now because full circle moments, I help girls now with pageants. It's kind of fun to be full circle. But yeah, it was really honestly because I needed money for school and they were offering money if you want. And so I was a person that was thinking, all right, how can I financially get to the next point? And a pageant was one of the ways that I could.
Oh man, I just thought I wish I have a Black woman empowered pageant. I think
so we just spawned.
Yeah, that would be really nice. This is great. So are you mentoring your little sister as well?
Oh my gosh, yes, I will tell you, my sister is just, I mean, for one, my sister, it's funny, people say I have the gift of gab. My sister can sing. And so one of the things
Oh,
I've been able to do is kind of be like her unofficial manager. And so she sings the national anthem at like a lot of different games and events. And
mm,
so I'll kind of do the booking for her, which has kind of been cool. Like now I'm trying to send her some paid opportunities, to make money. But she is always so sweet. She's always like, I'm so inspired, by all you do. And I think, but my sister doesn't know, like she inspires me, so much to, create her own path and lane. Because I understand when you're the little sister, you're always kind of compared to the older one and what the older one is doing, but I love that she's unbothered by that and focusing on her. She was in drama, like she does things. People will ask me all the time, Dr. King, like, oh, you're a broadcaster. Like, do you do acting? I'm like, no, acting is a whole nother field. And I admire actors and actresses for what they do, because that's digging deep into a lot of different emotions that I don't think as a broadcaster I necessarily have to do. And I respect that. And then I can't sing for a lick. And so I love hearing my sister sing because it's beautiful. But, I think even just like she was cum laude, in college. Like I think of her being a
mm.
supporter. Like I love all that. She's fluent in Spanish. Like she's doing amazing and incredible things. And I'm like, dang, I should have paid more attention in Spanish. Like she really does inspire me, and just how she's 22 and like just honestly just going out and just getting it done. And she wants to be an entrepreneur. Like I didn't learn that till later. I fell into entrepreneur when I kept getting a job here, a job there, and the tax person was like, okay, you're an entrepreneur. We got to make you a business. Where she knows now, that she wants to be an entrepreneur and just trying different things out. I think she's less afraid of failure than I was. I think I always wanted to do things when I was her age that I knew I was good at. I was afraid to do things that would challenge me in a way. Like I wanted to just do things I knew I could kill, but like she's not afraid to fail. And I absolutely love that about her, because that's the age to do it. And so, yeah, I'm always rooting her on.
I love that. I wrote a blog this morning on our website about failure. Yeah. And so like my granddaughter, who is 15, that's
Yeah.
my son that you met, that's his
Yeah.
daughter. She's amazing. Deja
Oh,
inspires me
it's incredible.
because she's been a straight A student all her life.
I love it.
And she's so driven. She really is. We get on. We have these granddaughter talks, and she's like you. She reminds me of you, your sister, because I mean she talks like she's well older than 15. And she was thinking about doing journalism.
Oh,
I think she might
nice.
have shifted a little bit, but I'm a big sister too. I saw that you deal with the Boys and
Yeah.
Girls Club.
Yeah.
I'm a big sister with the big sister, big brother.
Oh, yeah.
And
Big Sister Big Brothers. Yay. That's so
I
awesome.
have a 14-year-old that I'm mentoring, and
Oh,
so I'm learning a lot because it's been a long time since I've had children. My daughter's 37, my baby.
oh,
But yeah, and there's so much that we can do, Kelsey, to give back. And that's another thing that I push.
yes.
God did not gift us to sit on the gifts.
That
He
part.
gifted us to be a blessing to
Yes,
others.
to others. Yes.
And
That is
so
what inspires me and motivates me. I love hearing you say that.
yeah, well, that's what I try to teach, because you get your blessing from being blessed. I told I
Yeah.
remember when we were talking, you and I were talking, I said, yeah, I knew you probably grew up rich, and you said, I
I was like,
wish.
I did.
I did that. You said that. I did that to Joe Dudley last night too, and I told him, I said, you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth, and you hear a story. He said, not quite. He said my little sister, when she came along, yeah, maybe. He said, but I was doing
That is so funny, because that's similar. Right, because when you're the oldest, I think you're kind of going through like the
right.
perils of with your parents. But it's funny. I think people will assume that because if they see me now, how I dress or how I talk, they'll assume that, oh, Kelsey probably came from all this money. When quite the opposite. Again, how I fell into sports. My parents, we got free tickets to go to my first professional games. We were the nosebleeds, but we got the free tickets to be there, and I didn't care. I was there, and I'm open about that story. So I think it is important to share, but it's also for people. If you did grow up with a silver spoon, it's not a bad thing. Believe me, many people wish they grew up with money, and that's why we work, so we can hopefully help the next generation to have the silver spoon.
Well, I am just loving this. Let me ask you, what advice can you give our audience, the women that are watching, encouragement and inspiration, or what do you want to share?
Yeah, I love what you were talking about with the community service aspect. And I think that's something that is not pushed enough. For me, the biggest thing is using my passion and turning that into my platform for a purpose. And I think, when you said the community service quote, My life mantra is, we stand on the shoulders of giants, to whom much is given, much is required. And I don't care how busy I get. And, you talked about the Boys and Girls Club. And, for me, it's like, it was so great to go back a couple weeks ago, and be back hosting, and helping to raise funds.
I saw that.
And it was really a life full circle moment because, I know what it was to be in the club. But, something I always share that I actually learned at the Boys and Girls Club was, when people would say we're at risk youth, turn it around and say, you're at risk of greatness. And that's something I push all the time for young people. And our words matter. Our words matter.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's like, what can you do to give back to the community? I was raised by a village. I had loving parents, but they worked a lot. They were trying to provide. And that means a lot of older caring adults, poured into me. Someone was keeping me. I was at some daycare, my parents were a couple minutes late for the after school pickup. It's fine. We know they're coming. So many pouring hands so I think the biggest thing is, as much as you can, give back to young people. Like yesterday, I was so tired. I was up at 4 a.m. One of the programs I'm involved in here in DC is the multicultural internship program. So I do that at the Heights Educational Campus. It's Northwest DC. And I have a young mentee, and she was telling me yesterday, she applied to Catholic University. It's her top school. She hopes she gets in. And it was so inspiring going through her application and different scholarships that she could, potentially get, trying to figure out work study because she works at Wegmans right now. But, just in case she wants something on campus, what would that look like? And I can't tell you enough, how fueled you'll be from just giving back to people, and just knowing, never get too busy to forget where you come from, and never get too busy to care. So it's one of my biggest pieces of advice. I think sometimes people feel like when you made it, you're good. Ain't nothing else I got to do. I'm here. But you can be knocked off your platform, people, at any time. Again, it's his will for what he wants you to do.
Say that again.
It's enough. You've got to give back. You have to invest. It will feed your soul in ways that you would never imagine. So that probably my biggest piece of advice is make time to mentor. I've had mentors pour into me. I have mentees now. Later tonight, I'll be talking to one of my mentees who just graduated. She's trying to break in, and we're trying to figure out a path, for her. But those are one of the top things I love to do, because it takes me back. And I remember when I was doing that, and things I wish I knew then, I'm able to spread. And so I think that knowledge, like I said, I can't take this knowledge with me when I'm 7 feet under in the ground. The biggest thing is, what can I leave? And I want my legacy to be that, she was a woman that gave back and cared for people. So that's probably my first piece of advice. And the number two, we've been talking about it, this whole time. Don't be afraid to be you. When I first got into this industry, Dr. King, I thought no one would accept me for me. I thought I had to be like somebody else to be accepted. Little did I know that, and you see it now, the things that I'm, champion for is things that people like that are unique to me. Like, oh, Kelsey is this, and, I've been able to brand off my name and stuff. I wish I knew that then. I think, be unapologetically you. I think, I've been doing a lot of conversation now about Angel Reese, and the large reason why Angel Reese has been able to grow to where she's been, is because we got to see on a national platform, her be herself. And now she's been able to make millions off of that. So I think, don't be afraid to be you. My last piece of advice, and it sounds easy, but, it really is a lot, is to bet on yourself. And that's essentially what I did. I graduated from journalism school. Everybody wanted me to, do go to a small town and try it there, and see if you can come back. And it didn't make sense to me. If I'm already in a big city, why would I leave to go somewhere small to try to get back to where I'm from? The math wasn't mathing for me, Dr. King. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay here, and I'm just going to try to build, because this is the land. This is the area that I know. And, for me, that was after school, just getting some freelance gigs. Luckily, my parents hadn't kicked me out. So I got to go back after school, figure things out. And then I decided to go to grad school. I was trying to figure out, like you said, it's like, how do I level up? And, grad school is probably one of the best decisions that I made. I say that before I pay my student loan payment. But, when I pay my student loan payment, might not be saying, no, I'm kidding. But I mean, still, it was one of the best decisions, that I made. And it helped to kind of obviously spur me. But when I say bet on yourself, I was investing in myself, buying my first podcast. I didn't have much, but
you are so talking my language.
I love that. I mean, it's because it's so important. And that's why I can't take all of this. So there's things that I hope people know. So when you bet on yourself, it was investing in myself. I meant buying my podcast equipment. For me, going to Toastmaster Club meetings so I could become a better public speaker. All these different things, that I could do to make myself better. And so I think don't just say bet on yourself, but it really is investing in yourself. What skills can you sharpen? What talents, can you utilize more? What conferences can you go to go network? All those different things are going to be how you bet on yourself, I think, to build yourself. So those are my pieces of advice.
That is so awesome. And so I tell this a lot, but I just finished my doctorate in 2022.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
It is. And, when I did my master's, I was like, okay, I'm done. And that wasn't that long before that.
Wow. Oh, I
So
love hearing that. Dr.
my
King, that's
mentor
amazing.
said to me, well, why not go for your doctorate? I was like, no way.
Because after you do school, I was like, woo, you want to give me it's funny hearing you say that because you're one of the first people I'm telling this to. But one of the things I've been thinking about is actually going back to school myself. So I have my master's, but now that I'm a business owner, I want to get my MBA. And so I've been looking at programs. Like, Kelsey, like, you have enough school and you're teaching. Like, why would you, like, I know people are going to say that. But for me, it's like, how can I, again, like I said, how do I bet on myself? How do I better myself? And I think having an MBA, and I thought after my master's, I thought after Georgetown, I'd be good. I could, school could kick rocks. But, right now I really am just thinking about going back and getting my master's. And so about to get back into that.
And you're going to do it. Dr. Sherry, thank you. Dr. Sherry says, congratulations. I'm 60. I just turned 66 in July.
And I love that you're proving don't matter the age. You can go back.
It doesn't matter. You can do it. As long as you're alive, you're on this side, there's always something more that you can do. Yes. And I didn't do it for a career. I retired at 48.
Which is amazing. That's a dream for most people, Jacqueline.
I know. But I wasn't doing it to get a job. I was just doing it because it was something that I wanted to do. And honestly, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. That dissertation was no joke.
Ooh, look, I'm trying to prepare myself. It's funny. One of the things I do now is I'm a capstone advisor at Georgetown. And so I'm actually going through these 60-page papers now. And I'm like, what am I doing, Dr. Kate? But then I know when it's done, it'll be worth it. But
it will definitely
you got to prepare yourself.
But you have done so much. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And you are, I know that everyone that listens to this and on the replay, please, everyone, share the broadcast. I say this all the time. We need your help to reach other people, to bless them with this message, because it is very inspiring. So I ask you to share it, ask your friends to share it, your family to share it, because it is very positive. What we do is positive anyway, but to bring this beautiful young lady on with all that she's doing. Are you married?
I am not married, and probably good for a good reason, because Dr. Kim, I'm always working. No one wants to put up with my crazy schedule. When
Girl, you sound like me. I've been married twice. Both of my husbands were deceased, but I tell people all the time, nobody can tolerate my schedule. I already know that, because once they see all the stuff that I have to do, oh, never mind.
They're going to be like, what? I know you
got no time for me.
And it's hard, but when you have multiple jobs and there's 24 hours in a day, and it's like you try to maximize, it's hard to give unto yourself. So unfortunately, if God wants it to be, it will be. But right now, married to.
He's got the right man that will understand and will embrace everything that you're doing. I know that for a fact. And I love the part, I say this all the time, invest in yourself. A lot of people don't want to spend the money, but who better to spend the money on than yourself?
Than you. Oh my, Dr. King, I say this all the time. So many people, when the lotto hits, the crazy numbers, like $1 billion, you go try for like a 1 in a billion chance, right, to go win that. But why don't you put that money back on you, invest in you? It needs to start here. And so, yes, the best place that you can invest is you, because you're in control of yourself. So I don't think people realize, like, it doesn't have to be a lot, but you can start to save here and there to invest. Like I said, it could be going to a conference. It could be going to a gala that may be a future place you want to work as sponsoring. And so you want to go network. Like, there's many different ways that you can invest in yourself, but again, it has to start here before you give it out to the world.
Absolutely. And so if you're going to get your nails done, which I love to get my nails done. I love to get my all that too. But you're spending how much in a month? Man. And I'm not saying don't look good. Go ahead and look good, girl. But you still need to invest in leveling up too. Leveling up costs money.
That part.
And so whatever it is, you better be prepared to invest in it financially.
That part.
Kelsey, thank you so much. You have been such a pleasure. I could talk to you for another 2 hours.
It's been so fun. Thank you. Like, thank you for helping me through a difficult time. As you see, I feel like my eyes are dry, my tears are dry. So thank you so much again for having me.
Well, we will definitely have you in our prayers, and she'll be back. Don't She'll be back. And you have a good Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be hard, but hold on to the memories, okay?
Always, always. Again, I know everything happens for a reason and just trying to remember the positive times. But, thank you so much. A happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hope you get to enjoy your family. Safe travels to everyone traveling. Please be safe. And again, I just hope everyone just really takes time also to just decompose, decompress, and take time for you this Thanksgiving holiday.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Bye, guys.